how did you start like getting into, doing like being a host for competitions?
Someone thought I would be good at it. And they said, "Hey, I think you'd be a good MC." And I didn't know that was a job, which is hilarious. I thought,
Hmm.
someone, because when you go to local comps, a lot of times it's a coach that's on the mic or it's the gym owner that's on the mic. You don't actually think, oh, this is someone's job.
Yeah.
And so, kind of not understanding that that was a job or even ever really an opportunity. I didn't know that was going to be for me, but classic me not thinking something should be for me. And then it becomes my full job. It's very on brand for me.
Hmm.
So I started doing high rocks events in the States, which is interesting because now it's been 2 years since I've done a high rocks event, but high rocks is now kind of taking off and a little bit more popularity in the States, which
Yep.
before it really wasn't, which, they've got to find their step and find their people. At least in America, they do. In Europe, they're already like super popular.
Yeah.
So I was doing high rocks and then I was thinking, wow, I don't compete in high rocks. This isn't really what I do. CrossFit is what I do. How can I get involved in CrossFit events? And so I met a friend who worked media at CrossFit events and that was his thing. And so I told him, hey, how do I get to this event, Wadapalooza? How do I work that event as an MC? He goes, I got you, girl. I got your back. I volunteered at Waza as an MC. And then from then, it everything snowballed. So I volunteered, and that year, I 6 months later, I went to Torian Pro. So I think, when you find what you're meant to do, people see that and then they're open to it and they're excited that you're there and you're really welcomed into it.
Yeah. So being at Waza for your first like MC event, that's like one of the biggest events ever. Like I've always wanted to go there,
Yeah.
and I always say like every year I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to Wadapalooza, but I never get the chance to. But like what was that for you? Like were you like your eyeballs like just completely like wide open, being like seeing all these athletes, all these people, and like
So it was crazy. I think I was so new to people. People didn't know who I was. So not only did people not know who I was, athletes didn't know who I was. So I could kind of just go be myself without really worrying, you know, oh, am I going to be received well? I
mhm,
just went out there and I was myself. The guys that I got to work with that week, one of them, I actually at this point, we travel the world together and I'm going to go to Spain with him 4 times this year to do events together.
wow.
So it's really cool how we've become, he's like a big brother to me. And I went and stayed with him in Madrid with his wife. They're so kind. And so they brought me in and it was so fun to just be received really well.
Mhm.
And what I think with Waza, it's a community event. So regardless of if you're in scaled or you're elite, you're going to feel excited and you're going to feel welcome to be there. And that's exactly how I felt. And then the next year, which for me, it still feels crazy. So I went from one year, I was the volunteer at Waza. And then this past Waza, I actually was only following the elite individuals and the elite teams. And when I found out that was my schedule, I went into Waza this year thinking, if I get to do the intermediates, I would actually be really excited because my friends are competing intermediate.
Mhm.
And how fun is it to be able to
Yeah.
kind of like call on your friends? I think that's so fun. But when I found out that I was doing the elites this year, I actually had this moment of, do I really deserve to do this? Am I ready for this? Oh my goodness, like this is my reality now. And then the first time I got out on Flagler that first night, I almost cried because I was so overwhelmed with how far I've come in the last year
Mhm.
in my job, which
Yeah.
is crazy to think that it's gone that well so quickly. Um, but yeah, I got out there for Waza. It's still, it's like top 3 events for me and getting out there. And then now I see the athletes kind of all over the place. So now the elites are also my friends. So I see them and I can kind of poke fun at them. And, we have actual like friendships now. So when they're there, they're running out there, they're fist bumping me. When they're done, they're excited, they're giving me hugs. And it's such a fun experience because they're my friends now. And before you see these people, oh my goodness, they're
Yep.
the elite athletes. They're the best of the best. And you look at them and they are just perfect specimens of humans. But then you become their friends and then you're even more excited. You're like, not only do you look phenomenal, you're performing really well. And that's really exciting to just be able to support you as a friend. And then we're kind of out there doing our jobs and it's a whole thing. It's so much fun. It
Yeah.
really is. I think I have a dream job. It's great.
I think you do too. So do you have like I always like asking people too. So is there a moment in like while you were emceeing that you said something and it was like totally off, or like you kind of like put your like do a face palm after it?
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes down when it's my friends that are on the comp floor, they don't mind if I, like hype them up or I poke fun at them. And
Hmm.
so one of my friends, we're in Dubai and everyone else was going singles on this one snatch workout, but he decided not to. My friend Daniel decided not to do singles. He was going touch and go. And so in my mind, I'm watching this. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's a different strategy than everybody else. So I start talking about it. The second I started talking about it, he stopped. And then he started doing singles. And it's funny because you don't realize that the athletes are actually listening to you. So the athletes are listening to me as I'm talking, as they're working through this workout. People in the stands are listening to me. And so later they're like cracking, they're making fun of me. They're like, oh yeah, and he was going touch and go on this net. Oh, never mind. And so it's funny because it's not that the information was incorrect. It's not that I, completely butchered someone's name, but it's I know them. And so when I'm talking about them and I'm hyping them up, and then they just stop doing what they're doing. And I'm like, dang, I called attention to you, my bad brother. Sorry about it. But it's just kind of things like that. It's never anything that I'm embarrassed by. It's just being a human and talking about something. Things are going to happen, especially in CrossFit.
Yeah.
Anything can happen at any time. People's ropes explode. People, things happen. And so just being able to watch, sometimes you say things and you're like, well, that was kind of ridiculous that I said that, but I'm talking about what's going on. So it's fine.
Yeah. So when you have like, let's just say if you have like someone in first place and like then you find out like the second person that's in second place is catching up like real quick, do you kind of
Mhm.
like say something just to, let the first place person know like, hey, this guy's coming up on you.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. For me, I like to call the action in a way that I like to hear it. So if I see someone and they're leading, but there's someone coming on their heels, I'm going to be talking about it. I know that the athletes are going to hear me, and they'll even tell me too. At Zelos games, one of the athletes, Logan, he had no idea he was leading. He had no
Hmm.
idea he was leading his heat. And then he heard me say his name and where he was and where everyone else was. And he was like, no freaking way. I'm winning right now? What the heck? And so it's fun because, I'm just doing my job talking about what's going on, but these athletes are so zoned in on what they're trying to accomplish at that time
Hmm.
that they're probably not thinking about what else is going on. But if I can tell them, there's not really an advantage I can give anybody by telling you where everybody else is.
Yeah.
But heck, if you don't know and I say it, maybe if you have a little bit extra gas, you're going to try to go. Or if you're in that front, you're going to try to just hold on to whatever you can.
Yeah, awesome, very cool. So,
Yeah.
obviously, like your first comp and everything that you see all these like crazy like fit individuals. Did you ever like Do you ever like fangirl at any of these people at all, or like the first
No,
time?
no. So for me, what I think is really funny is I put them in my mind as these people are doing their job,
Hmm.
and their job just happens to be being very good at fitness. So when I meet them, I'm just meeting normal people to me, which is really good because I think you don't want to treat them like celebrities. You don't want to go up to them and say, "Oh my goodness, can I have a selfie?" or get in their way or get in their face. And that's part of what they have to understand how to do. Like all of that media training is, okay, what do I do if I'm out and about and people start asking for selfies? What is that like?
Hmm.
But for me and my job, I just have to see them as normal people. And I think that's why I've been able to kind of become friends with a lot of them is I don't see them as these kind of big celebrities. I just see them as people and as my friends and kind of as my equals. So we can have good conversation without them being afraid of, oh, well, if I tell this person something, it's not going to go beyond us.
Yeah,
So you can go talk to them at Fraser's and have really funny conversation. And then that's that.
yeah,
And, nobody ever feels weird about the interactions because you're just talking to them as a friend,
yeah.
which is something I think when I talk to my friends and I'll be sharing a story about an athlete that we were hanging out, we were doing this and this is what we were doing. And you see them, they're just like, you were there with them. And it blows people's minds because to them, they're celebrities. They only see them on the internet,
Hmm.
but they're just real people
Yeah,
and they're just like us. And their job just happens to be to be good at fitness, which that's also a dream job. If that's your job, good for
Yeah.
you. But I think that's something that I've always tried to do is don't fangirl and
Mhm.
don't be that person that makes other people uncomfortable,
Yep.
because that's how you lose friends. And that's how people are like, oh, well, that girl, she's exhausting. Because anytime someone famous comes in the room, she changes. Well, let's just treat them as normal people. And then at this point, it's even strange when people ask me for photos, because then I'm thinking, okay, so this is how it's perceived. This is how, if I went up to someone and asked for a
Yep.
photo,
Yeah.
this is how it feels now. And it's weird. I'll tell you that. It's weird, but it's fun. Some people love it and that's just who they are. They're excited. But for me, I don't know, they're just normal people.
Yeah.